It actually comes from a Rumi poem where he says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. So you can sing with I'll meet you there. You'll get it.
There's a place I often go where I can find peace and rest my soul. Come on, everybody, I'll meet you there.
That's your part.
It's a place that clears my mind. It's so close, it's not hard to find. Come on, everybody, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you in the morning before the world begins. Forgive up the same old story and start all over again. I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll meet you there. It's a feeling I can't describe. Destination you recognize. Come on, everybody, I'll meet you there. It's a gift we resist the most. That's how we know it's a place to go. Come on, everybody, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you in the morning before the world begins. Forgive up the same old story and start all over again. I'll meet you there.
Just keep saying that.
Yes, I will. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Deep down inside,
I'll meet you there.
we can fly.
I'll meet you there.
Take it from the heart.
I'll meet you there.
That's a place to start. Let's take this party to the street. Shake it up and move our feet. Come on, everybody, I'll meet you there.
Here comes the chorus.
I'll meet you in the morning before the world begins. Forgive up the same old story. Start all over again. I'll meet you there.
Say that again.
I'll meet you there.
That's right.
I'll meet you there.
Yes,
Where I can find peace.
I'll meet you there.
So close to me.
I'll meet you there.
Have a go with me.
I'll meet you there.
Come and go with me.
I'll meet you there.
Come and go with me. I'll meet you there.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of Walnut Creek, where we have very special guest musicians, Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin. And yeah, that's right. And we are bringing up our pop-up choir. This is from, these folks learned these songs just yesterday in the music workshop, the singing workshop that we had yesterday. And
we're good.
They are good.
enough said.
The I'll Meet You There choir.
Living in the house of the soul's belonging, where you know without a doubt that you made it home. Living in the house of the soul's belonging, coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Let's do it one more time. Living in the house the souls belonging.
Clap too if you want.
Where you know without a doubt that you made it home. They're living in the house of the souls belonging. Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. The kingdom of love, there is no competition, no contradiction, no control. But you can take possession and claim your passion. Working on a building that cannot be bought or sold.
Living in the house
Of the souls belonging, where you know without a doubt that you made it home. They're living in the house of the souls belonging. Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Step into the feeling of sweet surrender. Let yourself remember who you are. You can take possession and claim your passion. Working on a building that cannot be bought or sold. Living in the house of the souls belonging, where you know without a doubt that you made it home. Living in the house of the souls belonging. We're coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. There is room for all the kindness you can hold. And you know you can take it with you everywhere you go. Living in the house of the souls belonging, where you know without a doubt that you made it home. Girl, living in the house of the souls belonging, coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known.
One more time.
Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known.
Well, I think that we should just take this down to the mall and do a flash mob. You guys are really good, man. And you've taught them to clap on the right beat, you know? That was really good. Okay, so then let's just go into this, yeah?
We're going to have something else.
Oh, there's something else first.
Introductions and
Oh, I'm sorry. We have others that
She's
we're
so
rushing
excited
into the
she
next
wants to keep
song.
going.
How rude. Okay.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a new choir. Amazing. You guys come in one day and you create a choir. This is phenomenal. You guys are wonderful. And good morning, Unity Center of Walnut Creek. It is so good to see your smiling faces this morning. My name is Linda Stevens, and it's my joy and my honor to be a part of your service today. So I'm going to ask you to turn off the cell phones or put them on silence, please. And as you're doing that, turn around to our friends at home. You know, even though when you can't be here in the physical, you can always be here in electronic the world, okay? So if you're at home and you can't be here, do like our friends are at home today and watch us online, and you can experience Unity Center of Walnut Creek no matter where you are in the world. Just use your Wi-Fi. Okay, Reverend Kristen is our minister today. We missed her last week, but we also had a great guest speaker. So if you missed him, he was really, really wonderful. So was it Joel Lieberman? Yes, you can. Oh my gosh. Remember that Wi-Fi thing I was telling you about? You can go in and watch any of the previous services. So if you want to see what he did last week, I really encourage you to go watch that. He was wonderful. Now, you already got to meet our guest musicians, Jan Garrett and J.D. Martin. Thank you for being here with us today. They are award-winning songwriters and singers who live and create their music near Aspen, Colorado. If you guys will notice the cowboy boots, they are stunning. Trust me, they are stunning. One of the first things I noticed when you guys got up here. I love my cowboy boots. Yes, yes, yes. They write, record, and sing and play for audience around the country. Their music is rich and intelligent. It opens the heart and refreshes the spirit. And their CDs are available afterwards out on the patio. And yesterday you saw what they did. Amazingly, they created a choir for us, and they're going to sing with us, for us, in just a few minutes. Thank you again. So now I'm going to encourage you to kind of go inside. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. At Unity, our mission is, in a loving community, we empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And now I invite you to join with me in affirming our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Now take another breath and sink just a little bit deeper. And once again, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Thank you. And now as we come back into the room together, if you're here for the first time, or if you've been gone and you've come back, you can count this as your first time because it could be really different. And if you're comfortable in doing so, if you will raise your hand now, one of our ushers will bring you a packet of information that lets you know who and what we are here. So anybody new for the first time? Oh, yes, I see my friend Bob from Rossmore out there. He's come here for the very first time. And some folks on the back row. We're so glad to have you with us. And do come back. Do come back, please. Are there some more? Yes. There's also a connection card in that packet. And if you'll take it to our bookstore, we have another welcome gift for you, which is a wooden necklace that is made by one of our congregants. And if you didn't raise your hand, that's okay. You can still go to the bookstore and get that packet of information because we really want to know that you were here. And now for the rest of us, on the clipboard in the seat pocket in front of you, there's a connection card. Please fill that out to let us know that you were here today. And if you have any prayer requests, one of our chaplains will pray with you throughout the week. You can also give us any feedback or ask questions on the cards. And if you need information, one of our staff members will call you back if you'll put that down on the card. And now it's time to tell your neighbors good morning. So stand up and give a hug or shake a hand and say good morning.
and so many hugs. And you can continue later. We're going to teach you a song, which is really simple. It's a call and response. We sing it, you guys sing it back. The choir will help you sing it back. There's going to be one line that keeps repeating throughout this song, and that is, and the whole wide world is my home. So let's all say that together. And the whole wide world is my home. Beautiful. Turn it up to 10 and say it like you mean it. And the whole wide world is my home. I love that. That's beautiful. It goes like this. I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I hear the music.
I hear the music
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
Everybody.
And the whole wide world is my home.
Go ahead, Lisa.
You know what?
Yeah.
I got a new day
I got a new day.
down in my soul.
Down in my soul.
Yes, I got a new day
I got a new day.
down in my soul.
Down in my soul.
I got a new day
I got a new day.
down in my soul.
Down in my soul.
And the whole wide world is my home.
I love the silence.
I love the silence
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I love the silence.
I love the silence
Down in my soul.
down in my soul.
I love the silence.
I love the silence
Down in my soul.
down in my soul. And the whole wide world is my home.
Why don't you stand up now for the power?
I feel the power
Down in my soul.
I feel the power
Down in my soul.
I feel the power down in my soul, and the whole wide world is my home.
Yes, it is.
And the whole wide world is my home.
Hello. My name is Ted Spady, and I'm here to guide you with some announcements that are happening here at Unity of Walnut Creek. There's always something happening, so it's good to look at these when you have a chance to get abreast of everything that's happening. So join us next week for our Easter celebrations at 9 and 11:30. So bring your family and your friends and resurrect your spirit with us. Our spring classes, series of classes, start next week on April 9th, or the week of the April 9th, excuse me. We have 4 classes that will help us learn how to create life of prayer, experience moments of healing, create peaceful connections, and vibrational harmony in our lives. We'll have the teachers out on the patio afterwards to help you determine which class may be a perfect fit for you. So please take a close look at today's bulletins for the details on these and other activities that are happening, and also online too. And now I'd like to invite Reverend Christian up to lecture.
Good morning, everyone. Feel like you've been to church already? Good, you have. It was awesome. Thank you so much. The whole choir and Jan and JD. Thank you, Ted. It's tough to follow an act like that, and you did it beautifully. So I want to tell you about this week. We have a communion service on Thursday night. Any of you ever experienced a communion in Unity or New Thought? Just a few of you have. Good. So maybe in the past here, I don't know about that. I'll have to learn about that. So it's a wonderful, it's like sensual spirituality. It's good stuff. Body, mind, spirit experience. So I really want to encourage you to come this Thursday and experience sacred music. We're going to have crystal bowls and meditation and reading and the actual experience of communion. If you bring a loved one with you, you can actually give your loved one communion, which is a really sweet, intimate experience. And then afterwards, we're going to celebrate our Last Supper, as if it really were our Last Supper. So whatever your favorite food is, if it really were your Last Supper, what would you want? Bring that. We're going to have a potluck. It could be snack, appetizer, dessert, whatever, because it'll be after 8. But if you want a full meal, hey, it's your Last Supper. You do what you want. So if we ask you to drop off those dishes at 6:30 and then come on in for the service, and then we'll go back to the community room to enjoy some fellowship together and see what everybody would bring. Last time I did this, everybody brought beef brisket and desserts. And my tribe here from Unity of Columbia knows that well. You guys wave. So my godson Seth, who you've heard some stories about, and his entire family decided to spend spring break with us. So they'll be here for Easter Sunday as well. So thrilled to have you guys. Oh, we're going right into communion. I keep doing that. Darn it. Come on up, Bobby. Right into communion with spirit, not the actual communion ritual, so right into our meditation time. And so Bobby is one of our prayer chaplains, and she's going to share a reading with us, and then we'll have some music and some guided meditation. So please enjoy, remove anything from your lap if you wish, and get comfortable.
Today's is adapted from the Daily Word, Palm Sunday. I am spiritually fulfilled. On Palm Sunday, we are carried riding into the capital city where all its inhabitants come to meet us, throwing down their garments to make for us a pathway, strewing flowers and palm branches under our feet. Who wouldn't love such a day of jubilance and praise? And would this not have been the perfect ending for the story with Jesus triumphant, acclaimed as Lord and King? But Palm Sunday is not the end of the story. It is only the beginning. Holy Week is the story of the divine human. It is a week of passion, love, and fulfillment alongside trials and grief. Seize the energy of this day and let it carry you through the soul's fulfillment. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed are you who come in the name of Spirit.
The world runs fast, the spirit slow, to where we think we need to go. When we move into passing gear, the song of love is hard to hear, till everything's so loud that we're alone with what we're missing. Listen, listen. Somewhere beneath this sea of noise, we hear the angel's whispered voice. The song is there, the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen. Listen.
And so we listen. We listen to our hearts. What's in your heart today? We listen to that deep place within us, that soulful place. And if we listen carefully, we can hear the whispers of our own soul. It tells us who we are and what is ours to do and be. And day to day and moment to moment, the heart guides the way. With passing emotions, with a knowing in every moment. And with wide open trust. This is how we live. So whatever's on your heart or mind today, a question about your life, whatever you may be seeking, some guidance or healing, bolstering of your faith, listen, it's all right here. Right here within you. And even as this meditation ends, we're listening. Even as we move about our days, we're listening. It's all right here. Every answer, all the light and the love you could ever need. Thank you, God, for this realization. And so it is.
Somewhere beneath this sea of noise, we hear the angel's whispered voice. The song is there, the words are clear, and all we need is still right here. Listen, oh listen. sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of summer, and the winds changed, and the green was easy, and the rivers ran clear. I dreamed of summer, and the winds changed, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers blew in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and the way was easy, the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land.
You can sing along if you want to.
I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and the way was easy, and the path was clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. And the garden stars are shining, and the night is bright and clear. I dreamed of freedom, and the moon rose, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and the sound was easy, and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land.
Let's do it again.
I dreamed of heaven,
I dreamed of heaven,
and the earth sang, and the sound was easy, and the song was clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. And the ancient pain is forgotten, and the Father's debts are clear. I dreamed of heaven, and the earth sang, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, soft and easy, sweet and clear. I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. And the flowers bloom in the desert, and the air is fresh and clear. I dreamed of rain,
and a big sigh, huh? Isn't that one of the most hauntingly beautiful songs you've ever heard? And if I remember right, you wrote that, Jan, during the wildfires.
Yeah, right after the wildfires, right as the United States was going into Iraq.
Oh, and as the United States was going into Iraq. And you can feel the potency of that, can't you? Yeah. Mm. I don't want to add any words. This is a good place for us to be, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. So just take a minute to be with it. Just allow the energy in this space, this sacred energy in this sanctuary, to land in the sanctuary of your own heart, to drink it in, to drink in the rains. And those rains water whatever wants to grow. Those rains bring forth the growth. Whatever's on your mind today, seed it in this energy. Whatever's in your heart. If you're wishing for something, you're desiring something in your life, you're wanting to ground an idea, seize this moment, this collective energy. And I'm going to place an intention in this fertile ground for our community, that we may never, ever worry about money again. That this community will know the abundance that grows from the rains of God. And that we can get about our work, our ministry, what we've come here to do, without ever being dragged down by the "is there enough?" Let's embrace that today. Let's claim that today as a community. Let's let the rains water that seed and whatever other seeds are in your hearts today individually. And oh, what we can create from this space. Yes? Yes. Yeah. Whenever we have these moments, let's not just run ahead on the agenda, you know? You might find this too for yourself in just everyday life. I'm thinking about a time Felicia and I were in here at the noon meditation. It was just us. And the meditation just went really long because we were in this just really lovely, juicy energy, right, Felicia? And then in walked somebody else just as that was kind of shifting. And we were able to land somebody in that energy. And it was just a beautiful experience. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't have to be, though, in the sanctuary here. It can be wherever you go. That when those moments, those really fertile moments, let them be there. And maybe encourage the other people around you just to take a moment to be in it with you. That's where we really co-create. So, you know, this is a rich time, too, for our community. I don't know if all of you knew Pauline Kiefer. Many of you probably don't because she hasn't been here for a long time. But she made her transition a couple weeks ago, and she was 104. That's what us unitics do, right? Unless it's our time to go sooner for whatever reasons. We also lost, in physical, never in spirit or heart, a very, very dear one in our community, Jack Schaefer, last Sunday. Jack actually was a part of building the whole renovation here in the sanctuary, heading up the volunteer teams and the engineering of that. So our hearts are with you, those of you who just loved and adored Jack and respected Jack, and our whole community holding him up in his new dimension. And really this whole process of that life and death, you know, whenever we face that, we have our own sadness, but perhaps sadness or even joy of release and freedom for our loved ones. But aren't we always also reminded of our own mortality? In those moments, aren't we also thinking about, wow, what am I doing with my life? How much more time do I have? You know, what's it all about? And that's really what this Holy Week is all about. It's that kind of presence. It's that kind of energy that says, wow, you know, one thing most of us will experience is a time when we give up this physical life, when we leave this beautiful earth, at least for a while, and move to another dimension. And so what is it that we want to do with that short walk that we have on this earth? And what kinds of things do we need to complete? All those questions come up, don't they, when we think about or consider what it's all about and how much time we have, which we don't always know. Sometimes we do know, though, that there is an end coming sooner rather than later. Jesus knew that for sure, and we're going to talk a little bit about that story. The country singer Tim McGraw, had a friend who told him, I knew I wasn't going to live long. And Tim says, wow, what did you do with that information? How did you live with that? And this is what his friend said.
I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. And I loved deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness I've been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying.
That's really what I want to wish for you.
He said I was finally the husband.
Because if we were living like we were dying, we might live a little differently, right? Everything gets ramped up a little bit, doesn't it? When we recognize that life is precious and sometimes short. And that's really what this Palm Sunday is ushering in. That's what this Holy Week is all about. So the beginning of Holy Week, we have Jesus coming in to Jerusalem, the spiritual center, just like we are riding in toward the spiritual center every day that we are conscious of our path. And why does he come in on a donkey? Everybody's, waving palms, and it's a great time of celebration, and they're saying, Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of Lord or Spirit. And they're putting their garments on the ground for the donkey to walk. But why a donkey? It seems like the king is coming, he should be in some kind of chariot, right? But he comes in on a donkey because he's coming in humility. He's coming entrusted with what Spirit has given him, this precious life. And so it's a cue for us, isn't it? I mean, the events that happened 2,000 plus years ago in the historical and mythological, and it doesn't really matter which facts are true, does it, in the spiritual walk. It's the potency, it's the import of the story that we take in. And so, it's then for our lives, right? So it's about us. So if we were living like we were dying, there would be an element for most of us in a conscious way of that kind of humility. Of, wow, what I have been entrusted with, this life, this sometimes shorter life than we want it to be, right? But even in an average lifespan, it's a pretty much a blip if you look at the evolution of time. And so what is it that I'm all about? And so Jesus comes in, they're hailing him as a king, but he's teaching a different way of king or queenship, if you will. He's teaching a different way of leadership, a different way of service. He's washed his disciples' feet. He's telling everybody that service is about service too. Leadership is about service too, not being served, not being hailed and raising up the ego. It's about the Spirit and the humility of the Spirit. And so it's a great teaching, this humility that he shows. And it reminds me of when a friend of mine, Kathy, was in a process of making her transition. And she talked about the utmost sensuality of the simplest things that she was so present to. She said, when I take a shower, it's like this ecstatic experience. She said, I can feel the water like massaging my head, and I'm thinking, this might be the last time I take a shower. And the warm water just all over her skin. And she said she just felt so alive, and she looked so radiant. But we don't have to wait till the time when we're making our transition to bring that kind of full presence. If we lived like we were dying, every time we washed our hands or our face or took a shower or a bath, we could be in that kind of ecstatic experience. We wouldn't be thinking about what's next, right? We'd be thinking about what's right now, what's in this moment. And it brings us to that place, maybe even to our knees, of the kind of awesomeness that this life is. This great gift that it is when we slow down into that kind of presence. And it brings with it just naturally the gratitude and the humility that I'm talking about. We can always find something to be in that kind of holy space. Some of you might know Jack Kornfield. Anybody know Jack Kornfield? Not necessarily personally, but you might know his work. Well, you might know him personally. He's just down the road here. You know, he founded or co-founded Spirit Rock, and he has many books out. But when he was quite young, he went over to Thailand, and he was the only Westerner living in this monastery and moving toward becoming an ordained monk. And so he was trying to learn the rules, and he was older than some of the 20-somethings, but so somewhere in there. Young to me, I guess it's always relative, right? And so he said that he would bow to the teachers because he knew that was something you were supposed to do, but he didn't realize he was also supposed to be bowing to all of his elders. And so he asked, because he wanted to do it right, one of the other monks, well, who are the elders? And they said, well, anybody who's been ordained before you is an elder. And he looked around and he thought, wow, I got to bow to everyone. I got to bow to that 21-year-old kid who's here just because the food is better than at home? He's like, and I got to bow to that farmer who's on the farmer's retirement plan, who's never meditated a day in his life and all he does is chew betel nuts. But he wanted to do it right, and so he began to bow. And you know what he did? He found something to bow to in every person. He said, I began to bow to the wrinkles on the old farmer's face and to the hands that had labored in the fields. And I began to bow to the young men because their lives were so full of opportunity and possibility. And so I bowed to those things. And he said, pretty soon I loved bowing. He said, I would bow before I went into my forest hut. And I would bow when I came to the temple. And I would bow to, if it moved, he said, I bowed. But what a great opportunity that is for us. I don't know if you want to bow necessarily, but you may. But just taking that idea in that everything is holy. It brings us to that alive, present moment that we're always meant to be in. And so many of us are, I'll speak for myself, often I'll find my mind planning into the future, or maybe some of you tend more toward looking to the past. But to be really present, like my friend was in the shower, to bring that kind of presence is a choice we can make at any time. And it brings us that sense of humility. So if we look at the next event during this Holy Week, Jesus then goes into this mode where he curses the fig tree and he goes in the temple and he throws the tables over. Seems like an odd thing, right? In the last week of his life, this is what he wants to leave as his legacy, this angry outburst. And yet, what was that about? When I think about him knowing that he was coming to the end of his life and he had this short time to teach what he came to teach. And it's like, they don't get it. He's got only so much time, and they've turned the house of prayer, this sacred sanctuary, into what he calls a den of thieves. And there's livestock everywhere, and there's excrement, and there's shouting, and there's negotiating, and there's probably some cheating going on. And this is not what he pictures for his Father's house. And it's not what he pictures for the legacy that he leaves behind. This is his life's work. This is his service. This is why he came. This is his purpose and his passion. And they don't get it. How much time? I don't have enough time. Time's up, he's feeling. So you can imagine that, right? For yourself. Whatever it is that is a part of your soul's purpose, your service, your passion, what have you come here to do? Do it now. And the message, if anything, in this whole message today is why wait? or don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait till it's too late. Do what it is that brings you joy and fire and passion and excitement and a sense of, wow, this is why I'm here. And you know those, it may be small moments. It doesn't have to be like a really big, huge life shift, although it may be for you. But it also may just be about opening up, opening up what is, opening up your own gifts, opening up your own life and looking and seeing, how is it that I'm being guided more deeply and more expansively in this moment, as if this was my last week to live? If this truly was, try that on. If this truly was my last week to live, what would I do? What would I really want to make sure? What would be my message, as Gandhi said? Remember when the reporter yelled, there was a story about a reporter yelled to him as he was boarding a train, and they said to Gandhi, "What is your message?" They want those fine last little words that they could put in their story. And he said, "My life is my message." And so it is for you, and you, and you, and you, and me. Our life is our message. So what kind of life are you living? If there's places where it's like it needs to be cleaned up, or habits that need to be dropped that aren't working for you, or ways that you need to step up or step in or be courageous, do it. Don't wait. That's the message of Jesus' passion. That's the message of what he's trying to show us. Don't wait till it's so frustrating. And I'm not saying that he waited. I'm just saying he had a short time. He only had 3 years for his ministry. That's a pretty short time. And so after these events, the events that sort of demonstrate for us a sense of humility and the sense of passion in the money changers, then there's the Last Supper. There's this probably a Passover meal, a Jewish Passover meal, and Jesus has his disciples, his closest followers, all gathered around him. And he makes it into this beautiful, intimate ritual. And in this beautiful, intimate ritual, he says, "This is my body and my blood." I mean, it sounds kind of, it's kind of a little macabre, right? If you just hear it on the surface. But it's not on the surface that we're talking about. He's talking about the substance, the essence of spirit, the truth of who we are. Take in the essence of not just me, but he's symbolizing the divine, the Christ spirit. He's saying, take in the divine. Bring forth the divine and the life blood. And allow that to animate your being. So there's this beautiful ritual, a communion, It's that time in our lives when, if we were living like we were dying, we might want to create some nice rituals with those that we love the most. But more than that, even deeper than that, we want to make sure that we say, "I love you," right? To the people we love. And that we say, "I'm sorry for the things that didn't work out the way that we wanted them to," or where we forgive the people that we need to forgive, like in Tim McGraw's Friend, in the song that says, I forgave the ones I'd been denying the forgiveness. So take an inventory of your own heart and say, what needs to be forgiven, including myself? What needs to be let go? What needs to be loosed so that I can fully live the joy that I've come to live in this world? So that's the invitation of the communion. It's the connection with those that we love the most, that we care about the most. And that can be the whole world, certainly sending blessings to the whole world. But when it comes down to that essence, we want to really be and speak and say and do what it is that we need to speak and say and do. Speak and say. Really wanted to hit that one, apparently. So that's the communion piece. And then after the Last Supper, there's the Garden of Gethsemane. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, there is this experience where Jesus and his disciples are together. And Jesus goes away to pray on his own. And he asks the disciples to hold space for him. I mean, this is their spiritual teacher, right? And he's about to move on to the next dimension. He's about to break through a whole new level of human consciousness. But the disciples can't fully take this in, what's about to happen. And so it says 3 times Jesus went away to pray, and he prayed, "Take this cup from me." I love it when spiritual teachers are so human, you know? And they become really accessible, right? So take this cup from me, please, you know? I don't want to die. I don't want to suffer. It's not enough time. I got more I want to say and more I want to experience. And the earthly life becomes so precious, you know, when we're present like that. And we can choose to be that present anytime. Or every time, every moment. I get to look out on this beautiful lawn and see a child dancing, and the plants are waving in the sunshine, and there is that sense of, in your faces, there's that sense of, God, it's so precious. Don't waste it. Don't give up. You know, whatever it is that we're called into, do it. Be it. Allow it. So in the garden, you know, he comes back after one time praying, and he wakes up the disciples because they've all fallen asleep. He says, hey, guys, you know, could you pray? It's a pretty important time. Could you, you know, this is like a pivotal time in human consciousness. He doesn't say that, but he's really trying to get them, you know, wake up, hold space with me. This is really important. And it's like, and it says in the Bible, their eyes were heavy. It's like they couldn't, you ever get in that kind of heavy sleep, like you just can't, you're trying to wake up, but you just can't? And that's the kind of space they're in. So what's happening metaphysically, when each time he comes back, even a third time, they're still sleeping, is that part of us, that ego goes to sleep, right? When we're on the edge of that kind of consciousness sometimes. There's a part of us that wants to pull away. There's a part of us that wants to be in the comfort of the ego space and doesn't want to step in to the fullness of what might come in the richness of consciousness. And so that push-pull piece of us, that part of us that will cause us to go to sleep. And so this is another lesson that is illuminated for us, is wake up and stay awake. Stay awake. Stay awake. So if you even need to just tell your mind that, when something is rich and powerful, and you know, like when you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to live like I'm dying, and so I'm going to stay awake. And when I notice that my ego wants to drag me down into the old habits that don't serve me, or the old ways of talking, anybody still doing their complaint-free bracelet? Today would be 21 days, if you've done it for 21 days. Anybody done it for 21 days? No? Yeah, yeah. I know, I'm on day 3, so, you know. But, you know, who knew? I don't know. So anyway, for those of you who are participating, or even those of you who aren't, you're doing great work. So turn to your neighbor and give him a high five. So this is a Larry Schelling joke. You know Denise, the interim minister who was here before us? He says that's how you celebrate Palm Sunday. I know, it's kind of a groaner, but thought I'd pass it on anyway. Right on cue. So where were we? I've derailed myself. So here we are in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And there's this surrendering that happens. So Jesus prays that prayer, and the disciples are falling asleep, and so then he gives over, full surrender. And he says, if this is thy will be done. If this is thy will, let it be done. And that's when we step in. That's when we step through. That's when we come to that veil of consciousness that is ready for a new beginning, a new sense of understanding, a new sense and way of being. And it's a scary place to be because, yes, things might change in the old life. But I guarantee they'll change for the better. Maybe not immediately. You know, back at Easter time in 2002, I went on a silent retreat, and I told myself, I want to get inside this Easter experience. I had a lot of these, like, you know, bring it on kinds of prayers when I was in ministerial school, and then I sort of learned later, but and be gentle. So I went on this silent retreat, and I wanted to just really understand, because I could really feel the potency of Easter. what it was all about. I could feel it on this just cellular level, but I hadn't really fully experienced it, you know? So I went on the silent retreat and I read all 4 Gospels of the different viewpoints of what happened at Easter time. And I did a lot of prayer and meditation, and then it just sort of in that state of being guided, really, I got out some pens and markers and paper, and I drew a cross. And on each, and in unity, the cross is crossing out. It's crossing out that which no longer serves us. That's what the crucifixion is all about. It's crossing out the aspects of ego that aren't serving us. The part of us is falling asleep, for example. And so on each end of the cross, I put something that I was crucifying, so to speak. I was crossing out of my own way of being. And I flipped it over and made a kite on the other side, and that was to be symbolic of the rising Christ. You know, on each end of the kite, I put something in that Christed nature that was rising up, that I was becoming, that I was coming into, or unveiling, I guess you could say. Now, that was a time in my life when I was really excited. I mean, so that was Easter time, and then in June, I was going to be ordained, and I was getting married. And I was having the first same-sex union on the campus of Unity, which we had petitioned for, so everybody knew about it. I mean, we had met with the board, and we had, you know, so this was a big thing. It was like a big breakthrough. And then the whole thing, my whole life after this Easter retreat, completely fell apart. So we went ahead and got married because I felt guided to do that, which was still a part of the crucifixion process. Hate to say it. And 4 months later, it dissolved. And my classmates were going off into their ministries, and I was like, what the heck is my ministry supposed to be? You know, I was just in a space of like shock. And, you know, I was like in the tomb, right? After the crucifixion, it's like suddenly got dark and the stone has been rolled over, and it's like, whoa, what happened? I was just in the bright light of day. I was on top of the world, and I knew where I was headed, and I knew what it was about, and I was excited, and it's like the whole... So, a little cautionary, bring it on prayers, gentle. But I tell you, I'm so thankful because I got the Easter experience that I wanted. And not just because of that, but it opened up my whole life. Because what follows the crucifixion? The resurrection. Amen, right? So then we come out into the light. And in time, we get to see the blessings and the beauty and the power of the choices that seem like they were made for us in a way when we get on the ride, when we get on the donkey and ride to the spiritual center. We don't really know what's going to happen, right? But that's what we're being invited into. And so I can stand here to tell you, having gone through that crucifixion and resurrection, do it. Even though things might get a little shaky for a while, and it might surprise you how life changes, it's the way of Spirit. And sometimes it happens in big and powerful ways, and sometimes it happens in small ways, although usually I reserve the crucifixion word for the big ones. And you may have had your own, many of us have. So whatever that is, remember again what that experience was like for you, to have moved through a really difficult time in your life. And look now at the bright light of day, the new consciousness that was born that you carry with you now. So that's what this week is all about. It's a big week, right? It's not just some old historical thing that the traditional churches call Holy Week. They call it Holy Week for a reason. Because it's opening us and inviting us into the most powerful experience of our lives. And the yes to Spirit, the yes to riding to the spiritual center, the yes to the humility and the gratitude and the passion and the communion with those we love, and yes, the surrender. Doesn't have to be to your physical body now. You're here, you're living, you're breathing, but in every moment, that present moment, to die again and to be reborn in every moment. It's a constant invitation that Spirit gives you, and I hope you will say yes to that invitation. Yes? Yes. Whoa, yeah. God bless you.
I dreamed of rain, and the rains came, and peace spread over the land. I dreamed of rain,
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, why wait? Are you going to live this week like you're dying? Good. And we'll see you here Thursday night. You know, I've never done that before, Kristen. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope to see you all here Thursday. Whew. All right, let's get back into the sanctuary. Did you guys kind of float away there for a little bit? I did. Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our prayer chaplains are here after service to provide you with that very personal connection of prayer support. If you're a chaplain and serving today, would you please stand? They're the ones that have the lavender stoles on. Bobby's over here, and Barbara, and Charlie, and Terry. They don't all have their stoles on, but they'll grab one if you come and find them, okay? And it's so wonderful to have your intentions raised up in consciousness with one of our prayer chaplains. And now let's open our hearts to the consciousness of giving as we align with the universal law of circulation, which is, as we give, so shall we receive. And we receive so much here spiritually and mindfully here at Unity Center, and I hope that you are giving back with that same circulation feeling. Because in truth, there is no lack or limitation. Now, I invite you to take your tithe and your love offering in your hand, and if you're sharing it with somebody, hold their hand at this time. As we repeat together, divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. And as we bless this, we'll save that piece. In just a minute, the ushers will pass the baskets, and thank you for your giving, and thank you for our new choir. We are really blessed.
You're welcome. Yay. We're so grateful that we got to be here with you guys today. Thanks for inviting us. I hope you come back. And the message that we're going to leave with you is that no matter what is going on, love wins. You might win a battle. You could win a race. You could outrun your rivals. Come in first place. You could lose your center in the push and the shove, or simply surrender and tune into love. 'Cause love's not a contest, it's just who we are. Both the light and the shadow are at home in the heart. Beyond the struggle, there's music to play and songs to be singing at the end of the day. Love wins, love wins, all is well in the end. Love wins. Please sing with us. Love wins, love wins, all is well in the end. It's the light in our eyes, familiar to all, universally prized. There's a world of compassion, and we're good to Let's quit fighting and let love win. Love wins. Love wins. All is well in the end. Love wins. Love wins. Love wins. All is well in the end. Love wins. When we're up against too much to ask, when we lose our resistance at last, and we realize love's got our back, love wins. For everyone, great and small, we are lifted as we fall. Kindness conquers all, love wins. Love wins. Love wins. All is well in the end. Love wins. One more time. Love wins. Love wins. All is well in the end. Love wins. New life begins. Love wins.
Oh. Come on up. Love wins. Next time you listen to the news, remember, love wins. Wherever you go, remember, love wins. So let's just know that. Let's again take that idea, love wins, into our hearts and our minds. And when we come up with the contrast of the world and the difficulties of our own lives, just remember, love always wins. The truth always sets us free. Thank you, Spirit, for this abundance that we have seeded with the dreams of rain, with the growth of our ongoing community, with the beauty of all that our ministry has to offer. We say, yes, God, we are ready. We're living it, we're walking the talk, and our hearts and minds are open, completely surrendered to Spirit's guidance. And so it is. Let's bless this together with our affirmation. We give thanks for the ever-increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is. Hello, children and teachers. Boy, you guys look like you had a great time. There's something about your light today. Did they have a great time, Lonnie? Anything anybody wants to share?
What did we talk about today, guys? Does anybody remember one thing? No. What did we talk about? What did you learn today?
I learned about bowing.
She said bowing, so bowing to the goodness in other people. today and now rather than, putting it off. Yeah. Does anybody have anything else? Affirmation. Yes, we ended with an affirmation, and it was about, honoring everyone in our lives and loving everyone. Very nice.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you for your lesson to us today. So let's bless our children and teachers and our choir. Children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. So it is. We invite you to take your neighbor's hand and close out with our prayer of protection. You might want to look at the words because we're using the updated version now. So together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Are the light and the love and the peace on earth right now. So let your light shine and have fun.